Well, hello, everybody. It is Tanika Steens, and I am your host for Mind Your Business. And tonight, I am excited because I have a special guest, and her name is Dr. Debi Sibler, and she is the founder of the Post Betrayal Transformation Institute. And she's a holistic psychologist, a health mindset, and personal development expert. That's right, I said expert, and the author of the best selling book, The Unshakable Woman: 4 Steps to Rebuilding Your Body, Mind, and Life After a Life Crisis, and her newest book, Trust Again: Overcoming Betrayal and Regaining Health, Confidence, and Happiness. Her recent PhD study on how we experience betrayal made 3 groundbreaking discoveries that changes how long it takes to heal, in addition to being on Fox, CBS, The Dr. Oz Show, TEDx, not once, but twice. Wow. And she's an award winning speaker, coach, and author dedicated to helping women move past their betrayals as well as any other blocks preventing them from their health, working on relationships, confidence, and happiness that they want the most. She also hosts her own podcast, From Betrayal to Breakthrough, and she's all about helping those who's been betrayed heal physically, mentally, and emotionally. Now, I'm not Oprah. I'm Tanika Steens, and she's right here, right now, on Mindful Intentions, Nurture, and Drive Your Business. So I'm just excited to say that you can be right here, right where you are, and bloom where you're planted, and have a guest with all those accolades sitting right before you, ready to open up and pour into you. So without any further ado, this is why I do what I do. But she's here tonight to tell you who she is, even more in depth than I did, who she is, what she does, and why she does it. Thank you, Dr. Sibler. Welcome to the show.
Thank you
I
so
am
much.
so blessed to have you.
Debbie is just fine. And I appreciate the opportunity because this is something that happens to so many of us. And, just the more people that know that we can heal from all of it, the better off we are. So thank you for the
Absolutely.
introduction. And yeah, I don't think somebody wakes up and says, I think I want to study betrayal. No, it doesn't happen. This is actually my 30th year in business. And as life would change, so would my business. And it was health and mindset and personal development. And then I had trauma, and it was the betrayal of my family. And I thought I did what I needed to do to heal. And a couple of years later, it was my husband. That was the deal breaker. So got him out, and I was like, all right, what's common to these two experiences? And I realized, it was always about everybody else. I never took my own needs seriously. Boundaries were being crossed. And I was like, something's got to change, and that's me. So I didn't know how I was going to do it, how I was going to pay for it, nothing. But I said, that's it, going back for a PhD. And I had 4 kids and 6 dogs and a thriving business. And I didn't know how I was going to even make the time for it. But I was so drawn to doing this. And it was it was a PhD in transpersonal psychology, the psychology of transformation and human potential, because I was changing so much. I didn't quite understand it. He was too on his own, wasn't ready to look at that. And then it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal, and I was really studying it so I could get out of so much pain. And I could understand how the mind works and why people do these things and how I can heal. And so did this study on betrayal, what holds us back, what helps us heal, and what happens to us physically, mentally, and emotionally when the people closest to us lie, cheat, and deceive. That study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries, which changed my business, my health, my family, my life.
There we go. And often we can't do anything until we've gone through something. We can't move past anything or learn anything until we've experienced something. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. And that's the thing. When you come from this deep place of knowing, I feel like we owe it to everybody to teach it, because otherwise it's like a waste of a trauma, And also I can tell you, healing is truly a choice, because while you have every right to stay stuck, you can. and I see people do it all the time. There's a predictable roadmap to heal, and that was actually one of the discoveries was that while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, and so many of us do, if we're going to fully heal, we're going to move through 5 now proven predictable stages. And what's even more exciting about that is we even know what happens physically, mentally, and emotionally at every one of those stages.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what it takes to move from one stage to the next. So now healing is predictable. There is a roadmap for it. We teach it within the PBT Institute. I'm happy to go through the stages if that would serve your audience. Yeah. Okay. So this is when this happened, this was the most exciting thing, because that was the moment I realized now anybody can get through this and heal. So it's what we teach within the Institute. I write all about it in Trust Again. I'm going to give you a boiled down version of it here.
Go
So
right ahead.
stage 1 is like a setup stage. And if you imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. What I saw with everybody, me too, was a real heavy lean on the physical and the mental, and really kind of neglecting and really not paying much attention to the emotional and the spiritual. What does that look like? Looks like we're really good at thinking and doing, and not really paying much attention to the feeling and being. That's where intuition lies. We turn that down. That's not to say if you're busy, you're going to be betrayed. It's just this was the setup that I typically saw. But like a table that only has 2 legs, easy for that table to topple over. That's us. Stage 2, the scariest stage out of all of them. And this is shock. This is D-Day, Discovery Day. This is like where that person takes the mask off and reveals who they've been. And you're like, what? And it's by far the scariest. And what happens is it's the shock and the breakdown of the body, the mind, and the worldview. So right here, you've ignited the stress response. You're headed for every single stress-related symptom, illness, condition, disease. Your mind is in a total state of chaos and overwhelm. This makes no sense. You can't understand. You cannot wrap your mind around what you just learned. Makes no sense. And your worldview is shattered. Your worldview is your mental model. These are the rules, how life works. Don't go there. Trust this person. This guy, guy's safe. This woman is bad. Whatever it is, whatever rules you have. And in a moment, everything you've known to be real and true has been shattered. The bottom is bottomed out and the new bottom hasn't been formed yet. So it's terrible. But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You grab hold of anything and everything you could to stay safe and stay alive. That's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. It's the most practical of all of the stages. If you can't help me, get out of my way. How do I survive this experience? Who can I trust? Where do I go? How do I feed my kids? Like, it's just practical. Here's the trap. This stage 3 is the most common stage to get stuck in for a few reasons. And here's why. Once you've figured out how to survive, you're like, whew, okay, we got this. And because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma of where you just came from, you think it's good. You have no idea there's a stage 4 and stage 5. That's where transformation begins. It hasn't even happened yet. But because you think this is it, a few things start happening. The first thing is you start getting these small self benefits. You get to be right. You get your story. You get someone to blame. You get a target for your anger. You don't have to do the hard work of learning to trust again. Do I trust you? Can I trust you? Forget it. I'm not trusting anybody. So you start planting deeper roots because you're here longer than you're supposed to be. And now your mind starts doing things to you like, well, maybe you're not all that. Maybe you deserved it. So you plant deeper roots. Now, because like energy attracts like energy, and because this is the energy you're giving out now, situations and circumstances and relationships come towards you to confirm this is where you belong. And all those misery loves company people, that's who's showing up now. It gets worse, but I'll get you out of here. Because it feels so bad, but you have no idea there's anything better. Right here is where you resign yourself. You're like, I have to figure out a way to just be okay with this. So here's where you start using food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, keeping busy, scrolling social media, whatever, reckless behavior to numb, avoid, distract yourself from what's painful to feel or face. So think about it. You do this for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 10 years, 20 years. And I can see someone 20 years out and say, that emotional eating you're doing, or that drinking you're doing, or that numbing in front of the TV you're doing, do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? And they would look at me like I'm crazy. And they would say, it happened 20 years ago. Doesn't matter. All they did was put themselves in this stage 3 holding pattern. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why that's the one where most people stay. Anyway, if you're willing to let go of those small self benefits, grieve, mourn the loss, you got to do a couple things. You move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. Here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo my betrayal, but I can control what I do with it. And I always use the example of, if you were to move to a new house, office, condo, apartment, anything, right? You don't feel comfortable yet. It's not quite cozy, but it's going to be okay. And when you're in that mental state, you start turning down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but you stopped causing the massive damage you were causing in stage 2 and stage 3. Now think about this too. If you were to move, you don't take everything with you. You don't take the stuff that doesn't represent who you want to be when you're in that new space. And what I saw with everybody was, if your friends weren't there for you, if you had those misery loves company people, right here is where you've outgrown them. You don't take them with you. So people say to me all the time, what the heck, I've had these friends for 10, 20, 30 years. Is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. They simply don't belong. It's changing. When you're in this stage 4, making it cozy, making it your home mentally, you move into the 5th most beautiful stage, and it's healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. So here, the body starts to heal. Self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. You didn't have the bandwidth for that earlier. Now you do. Your mind starts to heal. You're making new rules, new boundaries based on your experience, and you have a new worldview based on the road you just traveled. And the 4 legs of the table, remember in the beginning, it was the physical and the mental. By this point, we're solidly grounded because we're focused on the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
Well, I tell you what, that is so funny because that timeline sums it up. Mm-hmm. And again, I love this platform because this has been such a healing for me. And I've been on this self-care journey for quite some time, and I didn't even know where it was leading to. When it started, I didn't even know what was going on. But now it's so clear how it's panned out, because, when you start something, it's like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to give back, or and everything you do is to make you better so you can help to make others better. Mm-hmm. And that is what I have learned on this whole journey, and it is a journey of self-discovery. And that is why everyone that I feel like I'm before is for a reason, and it's a transformation, and it's to bring light to others. Mm-hmm. Just like you said in the beginning, we go through trauma because it's selfish of us to keep that to ourselves, to help to bring that light to other people. And so everything you said, every step from 1 to 5, I've experienced it. And 3, oh my goodness. Yesterday, I was just having this conversation with my mother, mm-hmm. because I remember being at stage 3. Yeah. And I told her, I said, I would get up on some days and I would hold people hostage on purpose, mm-hmm. because I felt like I had a right to. Yeah. Because I felt like, okay, you know what? I have a right because this is my way of getting even, and this is what happened to me, and now I'm going to get you back. And it's because at step 1, I never took hold of anything. Because when step 2 came, it was such shock that I just tried. I was like, I just absorbed it and I didn't face it. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to get through this, whatever. And I didn't face it. And so when 3 came, I was just numb to everything and was like, okay, it is what it is and whatever. And then I just decided that, okay, how I'm going to get back now. I'm just going to hold everybody hostage. And today I'm going to have a good day. And then when I decide I don't want to have a good day, I'm going to make everybody pay for it. Yeah. And it's like an outer body experience, because you're sitting back looking like, you don't have to do this. Mm-hmm. You can stop it at any time. And I told her that. And I said, and that's why I know that you don't have to do it. You don't have to be that way. You don't have to be stuck there. It's a choice. And
Exactly.
it's an emotional ride that you're on, but like you said, if you're not connected to that spiritual part of it, you can't get to 4.
Mm-mm. No,
You're not. You can be stuck in 3, and it's a dark place
it
to be
is.
stuck in, and it starts to become, you don't like yourself. And I love myself. I
Mhm.
absolutely love myself,
Yeah.
but I didn't like what I was allowing myself to become,
Yeah.
because I was allowing it to happen, because I was just gonna, okay, this is what I allowed myself to go through. This is what
Hmm.
I accepted into my life, because I started blaming myself. You
Hmm.
let this happen, because if you would have done this, that wouldn't have happened. If you would have been more of this way, that wouldn't have happened. So you deserve that. And so now that this happened, well, then it wasn't your fault. So now you can get them back. No, it I,
That's why, yeah. And that's why the 5 stages just make it so clear, because you see exactly what you're doing. And here's the
every
thing too.
part.
Yeah. You mentioned that the TEDx talks, and the second one, do you have post-betrayal syndrome? I give this analogy of a house. And here's the difference between resilience and trauma and transformation. Resilience, you need it for your everyday. Transformation is a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So using this analogy of a house, let's say the house needs, a paint job, and you paint. That's resilience. Let's say it needs a roof. You get a roof. That would be resilience. You're restoring it. You're bringing it back to, a good form. Here's trauma and transformation. A tornado comes by and levels the house. The paint job's not fixing it, and a roof's not going to fix it. And neither one's going to fix it. But here's the thing. You do have every right to stand there at the lot where your house once stood and say, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And you'd be right. And you can call everybody you know over. You call your mom over, call your friends over, call your brothers and sisters over, say, look, is this the most terrible thing you've ever seen? And they'd all agree. And you really have every right to kick and scream and cry and yell at the loss of your house. However, if you choose to rebuild your house, you don't have to, but if you choose to rebuild your house, why would you build the same one? There's nothing there, right? Why not give it everything the old house didn't have? Make it better, make it more beautiful. That's the opportunity. That's what betrayal lends itself to. Complete and total transformation, rebuilding. And here's the thing, whether you rebuild yourself and move on, and that's what I did with my family. It wasn't an option to rebuild with them. Or if the situation lends itself, if you're willing, if you want to, you rebuild something entirely new with the
Mm-hmm.
person who hurt you. I'm talking entirely new. And that's what I did with my husband. So not long ago, we married each other again. New rings, new vows, new dress, and our 4 kids is our bridal party. Now, I can promise you, never in a bazillion years would I have ever even thought to do that if I wasn't totally different. More importantly, if he wasn't totally different.
There you go. And see, that is what people don't understand. And I am so grateful to hear you say that, because there's so many people that would have said something totally different. And that's okay
Yeah.
if that's the choice they would have made. But often we don't hear your outcome. And that's the beauty. You know what? I'm so, this really just even heightened my day, because again, the choices and the the way we have to look at things as far as being transformed. Because like you said, if you didn't change and if he didn't change, and that's the step, because you have to make a conscious decision. And that
Mhm.
was with me too. I had to make a decision, and I said I came to a road where it was either I'm going to stay or I'm going to go, but I have to make a decision, because I can't keep on going this direction.
Mhm.
It's not good
Exactly.
for anybody.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, there were 3 groups in the study who did not heal. One group refused to accept their betrayal. So imagine that was like the group that was just standing there looking at the house, crying and screaming.
Mm-hmm.
The second group, right, they were just not accepting it. The second group, this was the group that was numbing, avoiding, distracting. So they ran to their doctor, who put them on mood stabilizers or anti-anxiety medications, or they started drinking, or they were
Mm-hmm.
emotionally eating. And it may have made the day a little easier. They didn't move. They didn't heal. The third group, though, this was the group where the betrayer had no consequences. So whether it was out of religious reasons, financial fear, not wanting to break up a family, whatever it was, they just tried to overlook it. And I only saw 2 things with this group. Number 1, a further deterioration of the relationship. And number 2, by far, this group was the most physically sick. Your broken heart can't handle that. But what happens is people are so, and I get it, they're so afraid of death of the old, right? But that's the only way you birth the new. Like when I got my husband out of the house, I was like, I wasn't prepared to be a single mom raising all these kids, all these dogs, running my business. Like, all right, but that was the deal breaker. So here we are, you
Yeah.
know. And then he didn't have to change on his own. He had every right to stay, who he was, but he woke up, as the betrayed person has the opportunity to wake up and change everything. So does the betrayer. What betrayal will do, it'll show you who someone truly is, or it'll wake them up to who they temporarily became.
Exactly.
It'll reveal one of the two.
Thank you. And see, and that's the thing that people don't get either, is because forgiveness is a big step, and the betrayer often gets the bad end of the deal, because people look at it like they just throw them away and think, well, they're the betrayer and they don't deserve a second chance and they don't deserve to get to turn around. But they do, because like you said, that could be a temporary of who they were. That doesn't make them who they are.
Right.
Can you talk about that? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. And here's the thing with a lot of people who betray, it really doesn't serve either one of them if there are no consequences, because it only makes the person who's been betrayed sick and the relationship's terrible. And for the betrayer, they didn't have the wake up call they needed, so we see it within the PBT Institute all the time. But I can share just my own personal experience. I think my husband woke up the way he did probably because he was the one who told our kids. And I only imagine when you sit your 4 teenagers down and you tell them something like that, and they look at you like, you just did what to our mom? If anything is going to have you wake up, fall from grace, and realize what matters most, it's losing what matters most. And that's what happened. And he, for him, excuse me, for him, that was the wake up call where he said, what am I doing? And he earned back, with each one of them, with me on a very different level. I mean, now here we are, the 6 of us and 2 girlfriends, the 8 of us. And we are closer than we've ever been.
Absolutely.
We all know, we've all been there together, and we've all healed. So it is a great opportunity, but I would never judge somebody who says, and that's how I used to be. I would look and say, people don't change. How can you possibly take someone like that back? But I thought about it and I said, well, I am so different. What makes me think that, someone else can't be different too? And with betrayal, you have the opportunity to create a new identity. You leave behind everything that doesn't serve, and you keep the parts you love. And you build a version of you that is so healthy, healed, strong, empowered, confident, happy. It'll blow your mind. And that version of you never would have had a chance to show up if that experience didn't happen.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this question, because I thought about this a lot when I'm working with my clients too, as far as who we are as individual people before we even get into a relationship.
Yeah.
That sometimes, because we're unhealthy and we are broken people anyways, going into relationships, when someone betrays someone else, are they really betraying that person? Are they really betraying themselves?
Yeah, there's a really big link between betrayal and self-betrayal. Very common. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, I can spot an unhealed betrayal from a mile away, because, and I'll see it in health and work and relationships. Like in relationships, I see it in one of 2 ways. The first way is a repeat betrayal where the faces change, but it's the same thing. And you're like, what the heck? I keep going from partner to partner to partner, friend to friend to friend. Is it me? Yes, it is. There's a huge lesson there. It's not that it's your fault. It's your opportunity to learn that you are lovable, worthy, and deserving, that you need better boundaries in place, whatever it is. Until and unless you get that, you're going to keep getting opportunities in the form of people to teach you. So, or the other way is where that person puts the big wall up. They're like, nope, been there, done that. No one's getting close to me again. And they think it's coming from a place of strength, and it's not. It's coming from fear. They were hurt so badly, they don't want to take a chance that could possibly happen again. So we see that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad because it's like there is a lot of hurt. And oftentimes we tend to turn away from someone when they betray us,
Of
and not
course.
understanding that maybe the person that's betraying is because they've been hurt and they don't know any other way either. And so, it's always two sides to this thing because it runs so deep, and we are a world of hurt. and,
But you know
and
what, though? The thing is, it's not an excuse for the
it's
betrayal,
not.
but
It's
it's an
not.
opportunity. That like, let's say, because usually we see someone with, let's say, an addiction. Usually there's trauma there, you know.
Hmm.
So then maybe the addiction is a sex addiction. Well, then
Hmm.
that's going to be betrayal, right? But here's the thing, that person, when it's D-Day and that discovery has been made, that person who's the addict or whatever's going on, the betrayer, has the opportunity then to say, I have to do something about this, and mean it, and take it so seriously. But separately from the person who's been betrayed, they have their own work to do. And
Exactly.
that's why you never know what's going to show up. I have people coming into the BBT Institute and they're like, I just want to be good. With my partner again. I will never guarantee that, because what happens is, my intention and our certified coaches and everybody in there, we will get someone to their physical, mental, and emotional best. But then when you're at that place, you could be looking at your partner very differently. You could totally outgrow them. You're like, I'm not the least bit interested in you now, or that person can step it up, and then they're like, I better meet the strength of, meet up with this person. So here, I'll show you on my hands and you'll never forget this. Ready? When you're in a relationship and then you break up, you're like here and then you break up, right? And then our hearts are so broken and we're so sad and we just want to be in another relationship. No, absolute worst time. What you want to do is you want to do the work to get to your best place, you rise. But if you're committed, you're like, that's it, I'm in a relationship, I just have to suck it up and whatever. Well, then you're going to do this and you're going to keep sabotaging yourself. And that's what my first TEDx talk was about. You're going to do this, you're going to sabotage yourself because you like it here, but you don't want to outgrow
Hmm.
relationships. So you're going to keep sabotaging yourself. But then what happens is you like it here and you're like, why can't they do this? Because they're not ready. So what happens
Exactly.
is eventually you get here and then you got this, where you're like, ooh, I'm not the least bit interested in you. And you're like, what happened to you? So what you need to do on your own is do the work to get to here. We don't know what's going to happen with this person. They could do this or they don't. And then this shows up. It
Hmm.
can't not. And then, if this person stays here, well, then eventually, you do that.
Yeah.
But either way, your job after betrayal is to do this, period.
And that's the thing people have to understand. Your job is to worry about you. You can't worry about this person over here. And so, what do you recommend in that case, like a husband and wife? Now, boyfriend and girlfriend, that's one thing, but a husband and wife, like with you and your husband, you came back together. But what do you recommend? And I know that that's on a personal level, whatever, but just a scenario in a
Yeah.
situation like that, what is the person to do? Should they wait? Should they separate? I mean,
Yeah.
what
Well,
should
you never, number one, you never want to make a decision from a low place.
right,
The decision you make
exactly.
from a low place may be very different. You have to be committed to your healing, period. That's it. And usually the best way to do that is you need space. You just do. I mean, you've been traumatized. Think about what betrayal is. This was the person, or these were the people who gave you a sense of safety and security. So when this is the person, these are the people to shatter that safety and security. It's traumatizing. When the person you trusted the most proved untrustworthy, who do you trust? When the one
Mhm.
you run to when other people are causing harm are the ones causing the harm, where do you go? So it's a lot to heal from. Rejection, abandonment, confidence, belonging, trust. These are huge,
Yeah, yeah.
huge.
And it doesn't necessarily just have to be a marriage relationship. It could
No,
be a parent relationship, a
exactly.
sister brother relationship. It
Yep.
can be, and like you said, your family
Hmm.
is often the closest ones to you that can lead to that betrayal and cause a lot of hurt and pain in that way.
Yeah, sure. And the way it works is the more you trust and the more you depend on that person, the deeper the betrayal. So let's say a child who's totally dependent on their parent, the parent does something awful, that's going to have a different impact than your best friend telling your secret, right?
Hmm.
Still a
Hmm.
betrayal, different level of cleanup.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So how long does it usually take? Like, what is the program length like?
It's interesting. It really, what the biggest factor is someone's willingness. We have all the tools, all the resources, and the
Mhm.
proven roadmap. I mean, they just have to be willing to do it. But
Yeah.
if they're more committed to their story, if they're more committed to staying where they are, and that's what we do, you know, they'll stay stuck. We have two people who leave the community, and it's not, it's not designed for you to stay there long, but it's the people who've moved through the 5 stages. They're supposed to go, or it's the ones unwilling to do the work. It's one of the two. Our community, it's not that like the In It Awful Club. Like some people just have their story and they tell their story and it's like, oh, you think that's bad? You should know what happened to me. You think that's bad? We don't do, that's not what our community is about, because it doesn't help. Everything in there is based on what the research proved we need. It's based on what the 25,000 people who've taken our post betrayal syndrome quiz say they need, and what doesn't work is excluded.
Yeah.
So, everything, and the support, the right type of support is so important. The wrong support does more harm than good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's awesome. So how long have you been doing this? Like, what really just got you? How long after like the betrayal were you like, okay, this is it?
Yeah.
This is what I'm definitely going to make something that's going to stick to help people know that this is what they need to focus on.
Yeah, I had no idea this was going to show up, but I remember saying, and my betrayal only happened 5 years ago.
Wow.
So the books, the two TEDx talks, the entire institute, the programs, the certification, the podcast, all within that time. The PhD,
Wow.
all within dissertation, all of it. And I dove into it so heavily, but like integrity is my highest value. So this went against every cell of me. And I remember going through this saying, if I can heal, I'm taking everybody with me. I
Mhm.
had no idea what I was talking about, but or how I was going to do that. But then when the 5 stages were discovered, I remember saying, okay, let me get this into a program. So this way everybody has access to it. And that blew up. And then people wanted to see me, and I was like, how do I leverage me? So I created the certification program, and that blew up. And I said, I saw what the wrong support was doing. I said, well, what would happen if I had the programs available to everybody? If I brought the coaches in that were certified to teach daily classes, if I had the right type of support there, all under one roof. That's what happened with the PBT Institute. That's how we were born.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. How many coaches do you have working on the team?
We
On your
have,
team?
I think now, it's interesting. We have some, probably 10, 15. We have some coaches who are certified and they don't work within the Institute. And it's totally online. I mean, with people from all over the world, and that's totally fine. But they have much deeper transformations with their clients. Like, let's say there's a gut expert. Well, I know 45% of people betrayed have a gut issue. So this gut expert could be working with somebody and they're like, I don't know why it's not working. So then they get certified and they're like, oh, I get it. So there's the people become certified in the 5 stages. The coaches and practitioners who work within the Institute, they teach daily classes, not on the 5 stages. They're coming in with their own areas of expertise. So we have coaches who specialize in chronic pain, in reconciliation, in narcissism, in addiction, in self-love. I mean, it's just amazing. And so this way, members get to there's a calendar and they're like, oh, I want to, like in a fitness studio, oh, I want to take that class, I want to go to that class, and everything's recorded. I'm in there doing open Q&A with people, and it's just an amazing space.
Wow. So what is like one of the biggest forms of betrayal that you see?
It's there are so many. When I started doing the study, at first I was doing the betrayal of a family member, a partner, or a friend, and I actually had to drop the friend part because I found friends will infuriate. I'm not talking about friends who, let's say, have an affair with your partner. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying just a friend who does something that makes you crazy. You'll get so angry, you'll get so frustrated, you'll get infuriated, but they don't break you like
Mm-hmm.
how the family members and
Yeah.
partners do. Different.
Yeah.
So it's really, I found it's the family members, it's the partners, it's those people that we trusted and depended on. I mean, but still people in a position of authority. It's so widespread. It's so widespread. And then that self-betrayal, where it's in your best interest to act differently, to do something different, to leave, to whatever it is, and then you don't. That's self-betrayal.
Mhm. Yeah. And I wonder sometimes if self betrayal is bigger than any because of how long we stay or
Mhm.
how we talk ourselves out of things that we know we've outstayed our
Mhm.
welcome, or we've not done what's best for ourselves, or we've overextended ourselves in
Yeah.
situations that we know are not good for us.
And so many times we're so hard on ourselves when that's the case. But yes, sometimes it's coming from a place of codependency or like neediness or fear of just being alone, whatever it is. But there are a lot of times it's because we have such faith in humanity. We believe in this person, so we're really hard on ourselves that way. But I don't know. I think we need to just ease up. And also it's everything is coming from our own lens, and so like for me, I live very simply, and my rule is if it's going to hurt somebody, don't do it. End of story, period. And I can actually say I have never intentionally hurt a person because that's been my rule my whole life. And I always assume people live the same way, and I'm always shocked when I find out that's not the case.
Yeah.
So people are, what I've learned is people are doing the best they can for their current level of consciousness.
Yeah. I
That was
always
all they could do right back then.
Yeah, and I always think that whatever people think or do, they think that other people think or do.
Yeah.
And so whatever you believe, you think that's what other people believe. And so if you are nice and sweet, then you think other people are nice and sweet. And then you find out that, wait a minute, what just happened? I never saw that coming. And
That's it.
and or if people think a certain way about you, you're like, well, why would you think that about me? And you're like, oh, well, I would have never thought that. And so I just some things just bog my mind, and I'm like, oh wow, I just never would have thought that. But so when you came to write your book, what were your thoughts going into writing your book and actually putting those words into action?
Yeah. Well, and I have a few books, but The Unshakable Woman that
Yeah,
was early. That one was early, and I kind of hint at my betrayal, but I wasn't ready to come out and talk about it.
yeah,
But I still, it was sort of about all traumas. And then it was like when I saw what was happening on a one-on-one with me, with clients, moving them through these 5 stages, I was like, you got to get out of the way. But then I really felt like I had to sit my whole family down, and I was like, my story is going to be in there, and I was like, how are they all going to respond? And I checked my intentions. That was the most important thing. And I said, my intention is to throw him under the bus. No, absolutely not. But I sat them all down and I said, okay, this is all going to be there. And I thought they were, my kids would be like, oh, come on, mom, and they were really supportive. My biggest supporter was my husband.
so do you feel like in any of that you were um keeping it in because you were trying to protect him in any ways as well?
From with when it came to the book, and just it's hard it was so hard to be that vulnerable. And I'll never forget, any good coach has a coach, right? So I had my mastermind group, and our coach was going, we were all on a Zoom call, and it was everybody, in the lone little boxes going around like, what's going on with you, what's going on with you. It was my turn, and I was talking about the study. Oh, the study did this. Oh, the study did that. And he just got sick of it. And he said, stop hiding behind your effing study already. And I was like, oh. And I realized, I'll help people more if they know I've been there.
Yeah.
And that was a big moment. And I said, okay, you know what? The people who judge, they're going to judge. The people who need to hear this message, at least they'll know they're not crazy. They're not alone. I'm right there with them. And I healed from it, and they can too.
How did you find out?
Oh,
Do you
about the
want to talk about
betrayal?
that? Yeah, how did
Yeah,
it come to light?
it's getting that phone call you never want to get. So it was just awful. But
Yeah.
and my world just came crashing down right then.
Did
That
he
was
admit it right away, or did
Oh yeah.
you?
Yeah, yeah. And it was almost like he was relieved. It was
Mhm.
an opportunity for him to just get it together. And then he sat the kids down and told them, and everything crashed and burned. And
Wow.
yeah, but what was so great about my kids' response was they were like, Mom, whatever you want to do, we're behind you, which allowed me the space to be like, okay, let me just heal, because I know my only concern is them. you know. And so I did, and I focused on them, and I didn't want to. They knew what I was going through. I wasn't going to keep it from them, but I also didn't want to burden them. It was like this fine line between being real and but not, not going overboard. And looking back, it actually was really helpful because they learned resilience. They learned, you're going to have hard times, and they saw me crash, they saw me rise, and
Yeah.
him too. So hindsight now, it worked out well because now they have the tools. Now they know you
Yeah.
could go through the worst things, and you'll be okay, and you'll figure it out because they saw me do it firsthand.
Yeah. Well, see, a lot of times people think because you're a coach or you're this doctor and you've got all these skills and talents, you don't go through anything.
Oh no.
You walk on water. Your life is perfect. Everything you
No.
have this nice little cookie cutter life that's in this box and nothing ever happens. Or if it does happen, it doesn't happen the way it happens to everybody else.
Mm-mm.
It just evens out for you. But they don't see what happens when nobody's watching,
That's it.
can you
And
talk to people about that?
yeah,
Just let
and
them.
here's the thing too. It hit me. This was the I have been through death of a loved one, lost my mom. I've been through disease. I was in the ICU for 11 days. It's a miracle I'm alive. That's a story for another day. This broke me like no other. This got me like nothing else. And I went through just what everybody else goes through. Um, and it was, I also learned that I'm an empath, and I'm also highly sensitive. So now it's like, and I talk to people about an empath. Listen, everybody has their own definition, but being an empath, you feel, and you feel deeply. And being highly sensitive, you don't have the same uh, filters that other people do. So I look at it like, some people have a little layer of bubble wrap on them, and I don't have any of that. So stuff penetrates and I feel it.
Yeah.
So you also feel the highs much higher, but you feel those lows very low.
Mm-hmm.
This hit me on a level like no words could express. And but I don't know. I could not. It was like, I look at it like a two-sided slap. You get betrayed, and then if you just sit with it, that's like getting slapped on the other side. I wasn't willing to give this all my power.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I totally get it. And I know that there's others out there that get it. And there's still probably some that are living with it that haven't wanted to come to terms and face it just yet. And it's hard to face. I want to ask you one more question.
Mm-hmm.
How much ego played a part of that?
Oh, ego was huge. Huge, because my ego was screaming everything about this was wrong. Everything about there, I'm not kidding, there wasn't any part of this that I was even remotely okay with. But then there's the soul part and the spirit part that was, so like, imagine, I felt like two sides yanking on my arm. My ego's raging. Are you joking? Are you kidding me? No, all that. And then the other side was, what if you could do something really good with something really bad? What if, this was meant for a reason? What if what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? What if? So yeah, my ego was full blown, raging, horrible.
See,
I
but
let
you
my
know
soul.
what? I always say what the devil meant for evil, God turns around and makes it work out for his good. And so, you know, all things are going to always come out and work for right and work for good. And so I'm glad to see that your family got the good end of it and it's all back together again. And sometimes we need a fresh start. Sometimes things have to be torn apart to put back together better than they were before. And we don't often see that. And sometimes we think our way is the right way. And we think that what we put together is okay. And sometimes we need a wake up call. Sometimes the direction we're going in isn't always conducive to what really needs to be done. And now you've got something that's revolutionary and groundbreaking that is monumental, changing people's lives and helping them come to terms with things that they need to face in reality. And it's just evident and it's true. And some people don't like to face the truth. And I always say this, you don't really like or love someone until you know the very ugly of them. You can deal with the cute and pretty and nice knee of them. That's okay. But what about the ugly of them? Are you willing to weed through that And when you are, and even though you may not stay with them, can you still love them through that? And
Mm-hmm.
if you do stay with them, are you able to really get past that, or are you going to hold them hostage? Are you going to make them pay for the rest of their lives
Yeah.
because now you have something to keep them to? So those are things that, and then what does that say about you and your character? That really proves who we truly are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to look at ourselves in that situation now too. Now who have we become, and what are we now?
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
what are we feeding inside of ourselves now? Because we've let this turn us into something that's not so good and so nice, because you could have been a good person at one time, and now because of this you've turned into something else.
Yeah.
And it looks like you've taken what happened to you and turned it into something better. I don't know you before, but I know the person that sits before me now is doing something that is really great. And you could have been doing great things before, but now you're doing even greater things. And that's what it's all about. It's about taking something that could have broken you or damaged you and turned it into something that's solid. And that's what we're here for, you know. And so that's good. You don't take your life and waste it and throw it away and say, well, this happened to me and now life is over,
Yeah.
you know. And that's how we get out of stage 3.
And that's it. And here's the thing: I didn't do anything anybody else couldn't do. I just did something good with something bad. That's it. I mean, and
Absolutely.
now there's a roadmap. So there's no reason. You've been through the worst of it already. You
Hmm.
owe it to yourself to heal.
Absolutely. It's funny. I want to share this with you. We watch movies, and when it's a scary movie, and the person's after you, or you don't know what to do, and you're scared. You don't know which way to turn. But at some point, you get to a point where you overcome the fear. You're not
Mhm.
scared anymore. Now you're getting ready to learn how to get yourself out of this situation, and you put off of, okay, this isn't scary anymore.
Yeah,
Now it's time to learn how to get myself out of here.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's what we have to understand. We all have to get to that point to where we're going to stop being scared and afraid and get ourselves together and figure out how to get out of that situation so we can move forward and live, because this is life and let's live it.
And
So
you don't have to do it alone. I mean,
there
we
you
have the
go.
right type of support proven. I mean, we know what it takes to heal. You do not have to do this alone.
So tell us
Learn
how
from my
we can
lesson. I
do
did
it.
it
Tell us
myself.
where we can do it and how we can do it and who we can do it with.
So the first, I really recommend everybody take the post-betrayal syndrome quiz to see to what extent they're struggling. They can just find that at the PBT, as in post-betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com/quiz. And that would be the first step. And we have 2 levels of membership. I kept it that it's a no-brainer. It's $97 a month. That's like $3 a day for live daily classes with my certified coaches, our signature proven programs, moving you through the stages, 24/7 access. You do them on your own. We have the right kind of support in these amazing forums. We have the PBT Cafe. Everybody stops in for their morning cup of inspiration. I'm in there doing open Q&A. We have master classes with the most amazing experts. Everything's recorded if you can't catch it live. And two levels of membership. So $297, you get a session a month, a private session a month with any one of our coaches. That's in addition to all the classes you want to take. There's no place like it.
All right. And she's real because she's right here live in front of you.
That's right.
She's not somebody that just is talking and here and you don't really know that she exists. She really does exist. She's right here and she's helpful and she's giving you good information to let you know that it's real. And she's done these studies herself and she's been through things herself. So she knows what works and what doesn't work. And so why not take it from somebody who's not only an expert, but who's had experience, who's not only survived, but overcome. This is what it's all about, people. Learning from people who understand what life is all about. And it's not just trying to sell you a dream and move on, but somebody who has lived it and experienced it and is here to help you through it, because that's what their life passion is all about. Thank you. I appreciate you for taking the time out of your schedule and gracing my show with your expertise. It's just been a blessing. And there will be links. We will put links on our website just so that way people can contact you and get with you and have ways to get in contact with your institute, because out there people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and not getting anywhere.
They don't need to. I mean, if that's what you want to do, but $97 a month. I mean, we have even just one of our practitioners. He's been a therapist for 37 years. He's teaching every week. I mean, it's what we have in there. It's nothing like that exists. But thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity. It's been great.
Yes. All right. Well, hang out with me for just a minute. If you want to start today, right where you are, to know that you have a choice to be healed, there are experts out there. Dr. Silber is one of them. She is available to help you. Contact her today at the PPT Institute. There will be links on our website. There is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing that can be done. There are 5 stages to it. It's the setup, the shock, the survival, the adjusting, and the healing. Everybody at some point in their life is at one of those stages. What stage you are at depends on you. But how you come out of it is who you are when you get there. So don't be stuck at any of these stages, because healing is available to you. You have the choice. Make that choice to start your healing today. Dr. Silber, it has been such a blessing to have you here. I thank you so much. And I salute you for doing all that you've done and for leading the way and for showing us how to do it. Thank you so much. And everybody else, you know what it is. You were made with a purpose. So go ahead and be great. God bless you all. Have a great day. And thank you for watching. All righty, give me just a second and I will get us out of here.